A man named Fred. In 1992, accompanied by 14 friends, I rode my bicycle from Seattle, Washington to Atlantic City, New Jersey to benefit the American Lung Association. One day in Idaho, I decided to ride alone. My friends and the van that usually followed us were far ahead of me. I was enjoying the day and the ride when, without warning, my bike broke down. A closer inspection revealed that the tiniest and most essential screw that holds the derailleur together was gone. Without the derailleur to shift through the gears, I could not ride my bike. I looked around for help, but all I could see was a small town on a distant hill, a very long hill that I had just ridden down. So I began walking uphill, pushing my broken bike. I was angry and scared and confused. I was only in Idaho and I still had thousands of miles to go. This was not good. I passed a sign identifying the town as Kamea and noting that the buildings lived up to the sign's description as Western Victorian. Made my way to a car repair shop. I explained that I was a cyclist from New Jersey riding my bike across the country and I needed this small screw for the derailleur. The mechanic interrupted. New Jersey? That's right, I said. Wait until I tell Fred that you're here, he said. You have to meet him. He will be so glad to know you're here. I felt uneasy and wondered what in the world I had gotten myself into. Here I was, alone, in the middle of Idaho, with no cell phone, no money, a broken bicycle, my friends far away, and this overly eager man insisting that I meet Fred. The mechanic decided the best place to find a screw, as tiny as the one that I needed, was at a sewing machine shop. We walked there, and I explained my story to the owner while the mechanic went to tell Fred, whoever he was, that I had arrived. Some 20 or 30 boxes of sewing machine screws later, we did find one that fit. And as the owner walked me back to the automotive shop, she told me that when a stranger comes to a small town like this, with fewer than 1,000 people, word of the news travels fast. Sure enough, as we left the shop, 3 people walked ahead. One shouted, "Oh, you must be Kimberly. Fred will be so glad to see you." It crossed my mind that maybe I had entered a science fiction world, some sort of twilight zone where I would spend the rest of my days, never to see my friends again. Back at the repair shop, we put the sewing machine screw into the derailleur and it worked. Woohoo! I used the shop phone to call my friends and waited for them to pick me up. Moments later, a van pulled up, and a frail, elderly man carrying 2 brown bags of vegetables got out. He walked into the shop and looked at me with wide eyes and a smile. He said, "You must be Kimberly." I answered with a nervous smile, "You must be Fred." And as he walked towards me, I could see a strange sadness on his face. His voice shook as he said, "I'm so glad to see you. I can't believe you're actually here." Fred told me his story. Soon we realized we were from the same area near Flemington, New Jersey. It turned out that Fred had been good friends with some of my high school teachers, including my driving instructor and my running coach. Fred told me that he had left New Jersey suddenly 12 years ago because of something hurtful that had happened, and he couldn't bring himself to return. All of those years later, he had been praying for forgiveness. I felt compassion as Fred tried to hold back tears. He said, "I prayed that if someone came to this small town in the middle of Idaho who was from my hometown in New Jersey, that it would be a miracle and a sign that I had been forgiven." In that moment, I realized that God had a greater purpose for me, for all of us. I was stunned, and the importance of what had happened seemed enormous. Both Fred and I were speechless. This story still holds tremendous power for me, especially on the days when I feel I'm doing poorly in some area of my life. I know that God has a purpose for all of us and is using us every day in ways that we may never even know. God will use whatever we have to give, and He will use it in a magnificent way to bless others, to bring His peace, and to show His love. He has already used you today, perhaps, to offer a smile, a gift of forgiveness, a moment of caring, a word of encouragement, or in mysterious ways of which you are not aware. We are the bearers of God's grace. That story was written by Kimberly Morton. The tiny piece that went missing from Kimberly's bike was essential. It was necessary for the bike to operate, but it was also pivotal to God's mission. The missing piece led her to an unfamiliar town, but she had no idea that she was the missing piece in Fred's life. Her detour was a divinely aligned time and place to release him from his inability to forgive himself. It's extraordinary how God uses us all unwittingly. We are His unwitting messengers to touch people's lives in special and personal ways. In Christ, we who are many form one body, and each member belongs to all the others. Romans 12:5. All kinds of people step in and out of our lives. They have a profound effect on us, and we on them. God uses each of us to help one another along the way, sometimes even people we've never met before. It's just God. It just confirms that we are on a glorious path, a GPS, God's positioning system, and His awesome stitching of the invisible threads of divine alignment is guiding each of our journeys throughout life. Let's remember what Kimberly said in her letter. God has already used you today, perhaps to offer a smile, a gift of forgiveness, a moment of caring, a word of encouragement, or in mysterious ways of which you are not aware. You do matter. You do make a difference.